My name is Ben Mulwa, and I am the lead consultant in our company called Insights Strategies Solutions Africa, ISS Africa. Our company was established in the year 2011 with emphasis on matters research, and we are very happy with the progress that we have made in the last 10 years and the impact that we have created, especially in conducting and disseminating professional research outcomes that have gone a long way in influencing policy decisions and even perspectives on various scopes, both in the corporate world and in the public sector. So I want to start by first welcoming you all and thanking you for honoring this invitation. We are very happy and very privileged to be here this morning to launch the report of one of the most comprehensive research or surveys that we have ever undertaken. And I want to believe this is one of the most expansive research that has ever been undertaken in this country. We went through all the 47 counties. The results that we have here are very interesting and extremely refreshing. And we believe by the end of this presentation, it is going to play its role in influencing the national conversation, especially on issues governance. And one of the key reasons as to why we decided to primarily focus on counties, you find that it is 10 years since we promulgated our new constitution. But most importantly, this is the 8th year. We are actually now in the 9th year since we elected our first governors. And you find devolution remains like the primary anchor of our constitution, because this is an entirely new governance structure that did not exist, which was abolished many years ago, a few years after independence. And now, 9 years down the line, we felt it would be important to have a completely impartial assessment of the individuals who have been elected or who have had the opportunity to serve as governors in all the 47 counties. And our research primarily focused on two key parameters. We wanted to do a distinction between what is considered to be the development rating of the persons who are currently serving as governors, and also their approval rating, or what in another language would be considered as their popularity rating. And we were very actually surprised by the results, because many times it is difficult to distinguish whether there is a difference between popularity and development rating. But as we run through this particular presentation, we are going to clarify all that. As you can see, actually, and as I said, I want to believe this is one of the most expansive researches that has ever been undertaken in this country, because we undertook each of the 47 counties as an individual universe. What that means is there was no comparison whatsoever between any of the 47 counties. If we go to Elgeyo Marakwet, we just wanted to know what stands out, or what are the ratings for the governor in Elgeyo Marakwet on the basis of development and popularity. And we did not want to compare them with any other governor in Rift Valley. That's why you find that our sample size was ranging from 1,051 per county to 1,067 per county, with a margin of error of plus or minus 3% at 95% confidence level. So many times would want to understand, or would want to know, if you have a less populated county, say like Lamu, why would you want to work with almost a similar sample size with a largely populated county like Nairobi, where it is estimated by next year we are going to have between 2.5 and 3 million registered voters. So we have a basic explanation here. The idea is to, the method that we adopted is simple random sampling, and we believe from the collection of this sample, it is reflective of the wishes or the opinions of the majority of the entire population. And that's why you find, like, on average, even if you're conducting a nationwide survey, like in a country like the United States, where they have a population of in excess of 400 million persons, you don't have to do a sample size of, say, 1 million or 2 million people to get exactly the public perception. Ordinarily, that would be in the range of still about 1,000 to 3,000 respondents per population. The idea here is to ensure that we increase the confidence level, because as you can see, our survey is based on 95% confidence level and a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. If the sample size reduces, then you find that the confidence level as well reduces and the margin of error increases. But it reaches a point, especially in economics, the term that we use is the issue of diminishing returns, whereby it doesn't really matter how many more you're able to sample. For example, if you go to, say, a local church, and they say the church has a population of 5,000 people, and you ask a simple question on whether they like their pastor or they don't. If you do a small size, say, of 5 people, maybe it may not be entirely reflective. But you find if you do a sample size of, say, 50 persons, the result from 50 persons may not change significantly, even if you were to do 500 people, or even if now you are to poll the entire church. So that is the rationale behind our survey. So this is just a breakdown of the entire national sampling frame that we worked with. As you can see, we have a breakdown of all the 47 counties, given the population. What we are referring to as the population here is not the resident population, but the registered voters as per the IABC register 2017. Once maybe the new register is updated, the numbers, I believe, are going to change. And as you can see, the sample sizes are distributed across all the 47 counties, right from Mombasa, which is county number 001, up to Nairobi, which had 2.25 million registered voters in the year 2017. And we have some of the, like, you find a county like Samburu, which has a very small number of registered voters at 82,000. I think that really is, no, we have Isiolo at 75,000 registered voters. So essentially, the sample size now was determined based on the explanation I've given you before to ensure that the results are extremely reflective. So I think with that, we can get to the basics or the critical demographics about the sample sizes that we worked with. And it was also interesting for us to realize that of the entire population of respondents that we worked with, about 27% of them are from the age bracket of 18 to 25 years. Between 26 and 35 years, we have about 32%. Then we have 36 to 45 years, amounting to 22%. Above, between 46 and 65 years, we have 14%. And lastly, above 65 years, above 5%. And this brings in a very interesting question. You realize the national population, the overall population, ordinarily the population between 18 and 25 would be higher. But somebody would want to understand how come they have a lower registered number of registered voters than the bracket of 26 to 35. The explanation is that the ages of between 18 and 25, there are quite a number of them who are not 18 in the year 2017. So a majority of them, even at the moment, the IEBC is conducting nationwide registration. So that explains why a majority of them have not been enlisted yet as registered voters. So if there were to be 100% registration, perhaps that particular percentage would rise. You can realize there's a difference of 5%. It is also interesting to note that it would be estimated about 77% or in excess of 75% of the registered voters would be within the age bracket of 18 and 45, based on those three categories, which really in excess of 75%, that is more than 2/3 of the registered voters. So that's a population dynamic that I'm sure a lot of people would want to consider as perhaps we prepare to go to the next elections. From the respondents, we established that about 39% of the respondents were confessed to Protestant faith. 26% of them professed to the Muslim faith, 18% Catholics, and the other 17% either did not choose or were not willing to disclose the faith that they prescribe to. The entire sample size that we worked with, we established that from the respondents, we had 52% of them being women. From that entire age bracket, from 18 all the way to excess of 65, and 48% were men, that is from 18 all the way up. So up to that, I think that is primarily the demographics that we're working with. From the entire sample size that we worked with, we established that 94% of them confessed to be registered voters and only 6% not registered. But there's something also important to note about that particular statistic, because as an organization, we did not have an independent way of being able to verify whether all those individuals were registered voters or not. So the responses that they gave us amounted to that kind of outcome you can see there. It could be, there definitely is also a margin of error. You see, one of the key things you find that a majority of people in this kind of polling, there are those who feel that they would not want to say they are not registered because they feel they are being irresponsible citizens. So they may not be registered, but if you ask them if they are registered, then the answer will be in the affirmative. So that's why we believe there is a significant margin of error in that kind of population structure. So I think up to that point now we delve into the primary or into the core of our research. And as I indicated to you from the outset, we only had two parameters in the entire research. And our focus was on the component of development and the component of approval. And what we have here is the national average based on the regions, as they were provinces before, of the average development rating of the governors from central Kenya to the coast, eastern Nairobi, northeastern Nyanza, Rift Valley, and finally western. And this presented us a very interesting statistic. You realize, like in central Kenya, the average development rating of all the governors from central Kenya stands at about 52.3%. Yet the approval rating is much higher at 56%. When you go to the coast, the development rating is the lowest, I believe. No, it's actually not the lowest countrywide, but it is very low at 35.8%. When you consider the approval rating is 54.5%. Eastern, you find that the development rating, which is a very interesting dimension to that, the development rating in Eastern is much higher than the approval rating of the governors. So that again presents a unique situation. Essentially, if you allow me not to run you through the entire table, again we have a unique case of Nairobi County, where the development rating as of September 2021 was considered to be at 19.4%, and the approval rating was at 13.2%. And one of the key reasons that came out during that particular research is Nairobi, we do not have a substantive governor. We have Anne Kananu, who is the acting governor. So many of the respondents felt that since she assumed office, they have not physically seen her on the ground, either launching projects and all that. And also in terms of her approval rating, because she's not a substantive governor. So the consideration is, if elections were to be held today, approximately about 13.2% of the residents of Nairobi would vote for her. And if you translate that to the numbers, Nairobi having the highest number of registered voters, probably that would be in excess of 300,000 people who would consider voting for her as governor. That's why you find distinctly Nairobi as a region has that challenge, because all the other governors we evaluated in this survey are substantive governors in office. It is only Nairobi where it is unique. We have an acting governor who is also the deputy governor. So I believe maybe those results would change in the event there is a substantive governor in office. You realize this is the graphic representation of the same results we have just looked at. But you find from central Kenya, the approval rating of the majority of the governors is higher than the development rating. But when you look at an area like Eastern, the development rating of all the governors from Eastern is much higher than their approval rating. In a nutshell, what that translates to is there are those governors who have decided or focused more on the political on the political arm of their administration, and there are those who have focused more on the development. And we felt that with this kind of results, it becomes easier for Kenyans to be able to make evaluation on the basis of do they really want to focus more on politics, or do they want leaders who are invested more on politics, or do they want to focus more on leaders who are invested in development? And the trend, except in Eastern, I think the trend is the same. No, also in Nairobi, you find that the development rating is slightly higher than the approval rating. So this we found to be a very interesting statistic that probably has not been analyzed before. So then we decided also to break down now this analysis to first-term governors and second-term governors, because the weight that is carried, and this again is going to present very unique statistics. You find that the weight that is going to be carried by lumping all of them together is very different from when we separate the governors based on those who are serving their second and last term and those who are serving their first term. When it comes now to second-term governors, for example, you find the result for Central Kenya is the highest in terms of the development rating and approval rating. And if you look through the counties from Central Kenya, we only have one governor who was re-elected into office, and that is the Murang'a governor, that is Mwangi wa Iria. So that particular score was not balanced out with any other governor. Same with the case of Nairobi, because Nairobi as a region, now there are no other governors within the Nairobi region. And that's why going forward from this stage, you'll realize, except in the summaries towards the tail end, we are not going to have a lot of analytics for Nairobi, because as a region, it is only one governor. But distinctively, you are going to notice that the development rating of Governor Mwangi wa Iria in Murang'a is the highest across all the regions, standing at 73.4%, and his approval rating standing at 69.4%. What that means is, if Governor wa Iria were to be allowed to run again for office, probably about 69% of the residents of Murang'a are satisfied with his work, are satisfied with his development record, and would be happy to re-elect him. But when you go to the coast, the situation changes completely, and especially second-term governors, which I believe are 3 in number. You find that the development rating is extremely low, actually, in the entire scorecard for the second-term governors. You find they are standing at 41%, but their politicking stands at 62%. So that again gives a very interesting perspective in terms of in the coast region. Probably there has been greater investment by the regional second-term governors in the politics rather than the actual development on the ground. These are the statistics that we established from the survey. Interestingly, when you go to the eastern region, you find that the second-term governors, their scorecard on development stands at 62.9%, but their approval rating stands at 63, which is just maybe 1 percentage point. This brings an interesting dynamic that perhaps these governors from the eastern region have been able to balance their politics and their development agenda. They have not focused more on the politicking at the expense of development, and neither have they focused more on the development at the expense of politics. Northeastern, the score is not very different. You find development is at 48%. When you go to Nyanza, development rating stands at 46%. Rift Valley, the development rating stands at 45.4%. And Western Kenya, the development rating again is fairly high at 57%, but still the approval rating of the governors is much higher, the second-term governors, standing at 63%. Then the national average, as you can see, for all the first-term governors stands at the end. Development rating stands at 50.5% and approval rating at 59%. What that means is, in the event, all the second-term governors countrywide were to run again for election, the probability stands at about 59.2% that most of them will be re-elected. But again, you see, these are averages, so the actual dynamics on the ground would be very different, as we are going to see now when we start analyzing the individual governors as we proceed. So this is the analysis now for the first-term governors. And you find the results are also very interesting. As you can see, the development scorecard for Central Kenya is much lower than that of the second-term governors, standing at 47% against approval rating of 52%. Coast still has the lowest development rating for first-term governors at 30.4%, against an approval rating of 46%. But you realize also, if you are to compare the previous chart, the approval rating of first-term governors in the Coast region is much lower than that of the second-term governors. When you go again to the Eastern region, the development scorecard of first-term governors is very high at 62%, which is almost at the same level as that of the second-term governors. In the Eastern region, second-term governors at 62.9%. If you go to the first-term governors, it is at 62.1%, a percentage difference of about 0.8. So it means even the first-term governors have invested themselves sufficiently into development, and with quite some bit of politicking or quite some bit of weight on their political career, but they are not focused more on politics at the expense of development. But when you go to Northeastern, the trend is back to what we have seen with majority of the counties. The development scorecard is much lower than that of the approval rating of the first-term governors. Same case with Nyanza, the same case with Rift Valley. It's the same case again with Western. And at the grand total, you realize that the development scorecard for all the first-term governors stands at 46.5%, while their approval rating stands at 52.9%. And if you again compare that with the previous one, you're going to realize that their averages, both for development and approval, is much lower than that of first-term governors. It is evident from this outcome that overall, so far since 2017 up to today, second-term governors on average have performed better in terms of development and in terms of approval rating than first-term governors. And this presented us with a very unique opportunity to do the analytics through the data. And you find that, for example, a majority of the second-term governors, like you have seen, and as we are going to see through the individual governor analysis in a few minutes, second-term governors have had the advantage of time. For example, we have governors like from Kakamega, Governor Wycliffe Oparanya. We have Professor Kibwana from Makueni. We have Mwangi wa Iria from Central Kenya, and many others. So granted that they have been in office now for the last 8 years, this is the 9th year, then they have that advantage. And the inference that we made from this is that with time, it made it possible for them to create an impact with the programs that they initiated. Unlike first-term governors who are yet to completely set up projects or programs that can be really felt on the ground. So you find on average the approval rating, the development rating of first-term governors stands at 46, yet that of second-term governors at 50%, and the approval rating of first-term governors is at 52 against 59% for second-term governors. From Central Kenya, you can notice that, for example, Governor Mwangi wa Iria, who is leading in Central Kenya, has a development scorecard of 73.4%, which is really the highest in the region. and he has an approval rating of 69.4%. Governor Wairia is followed by the Kiambu governor, James Nyoro, who has only been in office for 1.5 years. In fact, this came as a surprise to us because Governor Nyoro has only been in office for 1.5 years or thereabouts, yet he has the second highest overall development scorecard in central Kenya. And he actually has the highest development scorecard as a first-term governor in central Kenya in only 1.5 years. So perhaps we would wish to throw this challenge to the people in the media to establish how come we have this kind of an outcome, especially for an individual who has only been in office for 1.5 years against those who have been in office either for 4 years or those who have been in office for 9 years. Interestingly, after Governor Nyoro, we have Mutahi Kahiga from Nyeri, whose development scorecard is at 47% and his approval rating at 55%. He is also a first-term governor, as you are all aware. But he has been in office longer because it's actually almost, he's served almost the entire time since the demise of Governor Gakuru. And then we have Kirinyaga. We have Governor Anne Waiguru, whose development rating is at 43%, which is the number 3, actually number 4 in central Kenya, against a popularity scorecard of 56.8%. Then lastly, we have Governor Kimemia from Nyandarua, who has the lowest development scorecard in central Kenya, standing at 35.7% and an approval rating of 49.2%. What this means to us through our analytics, it is evident. For example, Governor Nyoro, there is a huge disconnect between his development rating and his approval rating. The implication or the inference from that is that this is a governor perhaps who has chosen to focus more on his development agenda rather than the politics. And I'm sure most of you can evidently attest to the fact that he has not been very vocal on many issues, but at least from the residents of Kiambu, his development record is impressive as far as they are concerned. But a majority of them are yet to make up their minds whether they would want to re-elect him. That's why you find his approval rating stands at 49%. But on the flip side, for example, if we were to look at the Kirinyaga governor, her development rating is very low, but her approval rating is fairly high. So it means perhaps Governor Waiguru has invested more in the politics than the development agenda for the people of Kirinyaga. Same case with Nyandarua. You find that Governor Kimemia has a very low development scorecard based on the people of Nyandarua, but he has a fairly higher approval rating. So it means in the event elections were to be called, at least he would be nearly, or he would be near half of the population would be happy to re-elect him. So those are some of the interesting dynamics that we established about central Kenya. This is the coast region, and now you can see distinctly, who is a second-term governor, stands at 41%, while his approval rating stands at 54.8%. It means if the event Governor Kingi was to seek re-election, his probability would be very high to get re-elected. We have Governor Godana from Tana River, whose development scorecard is very low at 29.6% according to the residents of Tana River, but his approval rating is fairly high at 42%. What that means is there is a possibility, if we were to seek re-election next year, a significant number of the population would be happy to re-elect Governor Godana back into office. Then we have an interesting case of Lamu, where we have Governor Fahim Twaha, whose development scorecard is the lowest in the entire coast region, standing at 26.4%, but his approval rating is very high at 51.2%. So these are very interesting dynamics we established through this research. Probably the people of Lamu like Governor Twaha, and to them probably the issue of development is not very important. In the event an election was to be called, he would still have a significant majority of the population supporting his re-election. So that is the scorecard. When you go to Taita Taveta, where we have Granton Samboja, we have his development scorecard at 35%. And his approval rating at 44%. Same with Governor Joho. you find that Governor Joho's development scorecard is fairly low, standing at 38.9%, being a second-term governor, but his approval rating is still much higher at 56.2%. Then lastly, we have Governor Salim Vuria from Kwale County. His development scorecard, as you can see, is, I think, the highest in the entire Coast region at 42%. Governor Salim Vuria has the highest at 42.8%. But interestingly, his approval rating is the highest, standing at 77.1%. So that means the people of Kwale are happy with the governor and probably how he has played his politics, and they are satisfied that if he were to seek re-election, if the constitution would allow, then Governor Salim Vuria would still be the man to beat in Kwale County. So that is the analysis for the Coast region. As you have seen, Eastern region, as we saw as overall, countrywide, the highest development rating scorecard and also the highest approval rating scorecard for the governors. But now you can distinctly see the breakdown for all the governors. And for example, you're going to see the highest that we have here is Professor Kivutha Kibwana from Makueni County. Professor Kibwana has been in office now, this is the 9th year, and clearly for the last few years, his ratings have been very high. And when you talk to the residents of Makueni, most of this has been attributed to specific programs that he has undertaken. Most significantly, there has been the component of universal health care and his involvement, especially of the public in decision-making in Makueni. Those are the major distinct issues that the residents of Makueni feel that Professor Kibwana has done very well. So you can see his development scorecard starts at 80% flat, which is the highest in the country, and his approval rating still stands at 73%. It means if Professor Kibwana were to be allowed to run again, then definitely he would get re-elected. Then after that, we have Governor Dr. Alfred Mutua from Machakos, whose development scorecard stands at 68%, and his approval rating stands at 64%. Then we have a very interesting case as well of Governor Kiraitu Murungi. Governor Kiraitu Murungi is a first-term governor, and as you can see, actually, his development scorecard is second highest in the entire region for all the governors. And Governor Kiraitu Murungi has the highest development scorecard in the Eastern region as a first-term governor. But when you look at his approval rating, you find that it's at 49%. So as I explained earlier, the implication or the inference from that is Governor Kiraitu has invested and decided to focus more on development and less politicking. And that's why he has that kind of approval and development rating by the residents of Meru County. Then after Governor Kiraitu Murungi, we have Governor Charity Ngilu from Kitui County, whose development rating stands at 64% and approval rating of 53%. Again, it is evident that probably there has been greater investment in development than politics. And all of you are aware that there has been quite a bit of activity in Kitui County on areas of manufacturing, agriculture, and many others. Then we also have Governor Muthomi Njuki, whose development rating stands at 57%, but his approval rating is very high. I think it is the third. It is the third highest in the entire region after Professor Kibwana and Governor Alfred Mutua. Governor Muthomi Njuki stands at 62.9%. What that means is the people of Tharaka Nithi, so far, I am very satisfied with what Governor Muthomi Njuki has been doing, and they will be happy to re-elect him in the event elections were to be held around this time. So that gives us a summary of the Eastern region. Now we have Northeastern. Again, you saw the scorecard both on development and approval ratings were very low. But distinctively, you can notice that Governor Ali Roba, who is a second-term governor, has the highest score on development across all the counties in Northeastern. And this is attributed to what I explained earlier, where those governors who have had ample time either to implement most of the projects that they started off in their first term have had higher, maybe a greater impact than new governors, first-term governors, who have only been in office for 4 years. So that is why you can see the results coming off. As you can see, we have Governor Ali Korane from Garissa standing at 42%, 42.6% development and an approval rating of 48%. Then we have Governor Mohamed Abdi Mohamud. Development rating is fairly low because you have noticed that there has been quite some bit of politicking in Wajir County, but his approval rating still is fairly high at 46%. Almost half of the population would be happy to re-elect him. Then we have Governor Mohamed Kuti from Isiolo, who seems to have well balanced his politics and development agenda, standing at 43.8 and 46.9%. Finally, we have Governor Mohamud Ali from Marsabit, whose development scorecard is second lowest in the region at 33.4%, and an approval rating of 47.7%. So this is just the summary of Northeastern. Then now we can move to Nyanza. And the scores again were very interesting, actually very interesting, because when you look at the development scorecard, you can notice distinctively that the second-term governors in that region, except for Governor Cyprian Awiti from Homa Bay, Governor Ongwae from Kisii County leads at 59.3% of his scorecard. In fact, his development scorecard is higher than his approval rating, which is at 56%. Then when you look at Governor Okoth Obado from Migori, his development rating again stands at 56.3%, and against an approval rating of 55.6%. Those two are first-term governors, and you can distinctly see that they have been able to well balance their development agenda versus their political agenda. Then third, where we have Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, and he has a very high development scorecard in our assessment as a first-term governor, standing at 54.9% against an approval rating, which is the highest in the region, of 66.2%. So it means as much as Governor Anyang' Nyong'o has invested well in development for the people of Kisumu, his ranking is very high with the population, and in the event elections were to be called or you were to seek re-election, clearly Governor Anyang' Nyong'o would be the man to beat in Kisumu County. Then we have Amos Nyaribo. Again, this is a first-term governor who has only been in office for less than a year, right? Since the passing on of Governor Nyagarama. And you find that he has a he has a much higher development scorecard than approval rating. His development scorecard stands at 48.8% against 43.5% approval rating. Then finally, we have Governor Cyprian Awiti, who is a second-term governor. And as you can see, Governor Cyprian Awiti has been ranked as per the views of the people of Homa Bay as the worst performing governor in the Nyanza region, with a development scorecard of 29.7%, which is less than 30%, but he has an approval rating of 44%. So it will be interesting to note that despite a dismal development performance, a significant percentage of the people of Homa Bay would still be happy to re-elect him in the event he were to be allowed to run. So I think now we can move to the next, which is Rift Valley. This one is a bit congested because we have quite a number of governors in the entire Rift Valley region. And you notice that in the entire Rift Valley region, the highest development scorecard is, interestingly, standing with Governor Stephen Sang, who is a first-term governor, standing at 67.2%. And his approval rating stands at 56.2%. After Governor Sang, I think the next governor we have there is Governor Jackson Mandago, the governor of Uasin Gishu. So on development, I think we have Governor Sang, who is the highest in the entire region. And as you can see, it cuts across up to, we have Stanley Kiptis, whose development scorecard stands at 32.1%. But in Rift Valley, when it goes to the approval ratings, the ball game changes. You find that Governor Josephat Nanok, who is a second-term governor, his approval rating is the highest at 70.2%. So it means the people of Turkana would be happy to re-elect Governor Nanok in the event elections were to be called. But what stood out for us is that within 4 years, Governor Stephen Sang has been able to stand out as the best performing governor in the entire region that encompasses Nakuru. We have Kericho, whose also approval rating is very high at 60.2%. We have Governor Mandago from Uasin Gishu, whose development scorecard is fairly low, but his approval rating is again very high at 64.9%. We also have Governor Alex Tolgos, whose approval rating is very high, but his development scorecard is very low. So I had already given you the summary of the performance per region, and you realize that it is evident from the statistics we are seeing here, especially in Rift Valley, that a majority of the governors have focused or invested more in the politics than actual development for their respective regions. The Western region presents us with 4 governors. We have Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, who previously served as the chair of the Council of Governors. And you can see his development scorecard is the highest in the entire region, and is a second-term governor, standing at 71.3%. His approval rating is even much higher. In fact, it is the highest countrywide, standing at 82.1%. What that means is there has been a fair balance between, or in the administration of Governor Oparanya, in balancing his politics and his development agenda. When you move to the next one, you find that number 2 in that region is Governor Wilbur Otichilo, who is a first-term governor. And notably, you find his development scorecard is fairly low at 47%. But interestingly, his approval rating is very high, standing at 60.4%. Then we have Governor Wycliffe Wangamati, Bungoma County, who is also a first-term governor. And you find that his development scorecard is fairly high at 45.9%, and with an approval rating of 56.9%. So to a large extent, a significant percentage of the people of Bungoma would be satisfied to re-elect Governor Wangamati. Then lastly, we have Governor Sospita Ojamong, again, who is a second-term governor. And as you can see, he has the lowest score both on development and in approval. Now, when we were doing the averages for the regions, when we broke it down to first-term and second-term governors, you notice that we only have the 2 of them, Governor Ojamong and Governor Oparanya. So in the Western region, you find that the score for the average, probably for second-term governors, went lower because now Governor Oparanya's score had to be pulled down by his counterpart, who has scored fairly low in both aspects. But overall, now you can see we have now an analysis, a summarized analysis of the governors that we ran through, because now this is national, as you can see. And overall, in terms of development, Professor Kibwana from Makueni County came up with the highest score at 80% as the top performing governor in terms of development. He is closely followed by Governor Mwangi Wairia from Murang'a County, scoring 73.4% on development. And when we engage the residents of Murang'a County, there are very distinct issues that came out in terms of why the rating for Governor Wairia is very high. For example, you find that Murang'a County is the only county in the country where they have a guaranteed minimum price for milk for all the residents. And according to the residents, that has really guaranteed good returns regardless of the season and regardless of the quantity of milk production in the region. Currently, I understand the prices for the guaranteed minimum price for a kilo of milk in Murang'a has been set at 40 shillings. Yet there are many regions where the prices are ranging from between 15 and 20 something shillings. And this to the people of Murang'a is extremely dear. Then there are also very interesting statistics from Murang'a that came out during our research. You find that, for instance, the average price of avocados when Governor Wairia took office in the area was between 1 and 5 shillings per piece. I am informed that today the average price of similar avocados ranges from 10 up to 45 shillings depending on the size. And more specifically, which we found also very interesting, the avocado production initiative that was initiated by Governor Wairia since 2013 pushed Kenya to overtake South Africa last year in the export of avocado worldwide. And according to the data that we have available from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, that alone earned the farmers of Murang'a in excess of 9 billion shillings. And according to the Murang'a County government, the projection they have is to be able to grow that to in excess of 20 billion shillings in the next 10 years. There was also, the residents raised an issue from Murang'a County on a bursary scheme that was established when the governor came into office, which has been running for a couple of years. As it stands, I understand the county government has been providing full scholarships to in excess of 3,000 students in that area. So you find these are some of the dynamics that we extracted from the people in terms of why do they rate their governor so highly or so poorly. As I indicated to you, like for Professor Kibwana in Makueni, universal healthcare has really been his main driver. There has been quite some bit of manufacturing from fruit processing and milk production, but more significantly, the component of public participation, which is in the constitution, the public of the general public of Makueni feels fully involved in decision making across the county. And there is no one time when they have ever been left out, especially on critical decisions concerning the utilization of their funds. Then we have at number 3 on development, Governor Wycliffe Oparanya from Kakamega. He's been very big in Kakamega, especially on issues of healthcare. And that has been in the public domain. But notably, you're going to see that the first top 4 top performing governors in the country are second-term governors. So that reinforces the inference that we made. A majority of those who are serving their second term have had ample time to implement projects that have had an impact with the population. That's why their ratings tend to be higher. So at number 4, we have Governor Alfred Mutua at 68.9%. Then we have the first top performing governor in terms of development, first term governor, who is Governor Stephen Sang from that is from Nandi County, and his scorecard is at 67%. Then the second best performing or top performing governor in development countrywide is Governor Kiraitu Murungi, that is from Meru County, who comes in at number 6. Then we also have another first-term governor, Mama Charity Ngilu, with a scorecard of 64%. Then we have Governor Nyoro. And again, this we found to be a bit interesting because he's barely been into office, but you can see his development scorecard at the national level stands out at position 8 across the country. And it has only been achieved in about 1.5 years. So this is a subject we feel that especially the media can take up and interrogate maybe further the people of Kiambu, and maybe even engage the governor to find out what is it that he's been able to do to get that kind of a high rating. And you realize Kiambu tends to be a very political region, being just adjacent to Nairobi. So those are some of the dynamics we are looking at. Then we also have Governor Professor John Lonyangapuo at number 9. And lastly, we have Governor James Ongwae at number 10. Those are the top best performing governors in regards to development according to the analysis that we did. So this is just a pictorial outline from Kibwana. We have number 2, Wairia. We have number 3, Dr. Alfred Mutua. Number 3, we have Governor Oparanya. Number 4, we have Dr. Alfred Mutua. And number 5, we have Stephen Sang. Then number 6, we have Governor Kiraitu Murungi. Number 7, we have Charity Ngilu. Number 8, we have James Nyoro and from Kiambu. And number 9, we have Lonyangapuo. And number 10, James Ongwae. If you go back again to the presentation again, you are going to notice that for the ranking on development, we have 5 first-term governors in the top 10. And we have 5 second-term governors in the top 10. So it is interesting because, you know, for first-term governors to be able to record that kind of impressive scores, I think it is something that really needs to be appreciated and perhaps interrogated further. And because there has been a lot of cases where counties are benchmarking on various issues, even in foreign countries and all that. Probably from this kind of a scorecard, it will be easy for other governors who are struggling with their development agenda, maybe to borrow a leaf, either from the second-term governors or the first-term governors. Now, we also have, this is now a summary of all the 47 governors. I think I have taken you through, because the first 10 is what I have taken you through. Notably, again, at number 11, you notice that we have Governor Muthomi Njuki, who is a first-term governor, which is very impressive for a first-term governor. Then it goes to Governor Obado. We have Governor Nyong'o in that list. We have Lee Kinyanjui. We have Amos Nyaribo, which is very impressive because he has also been in office barely for a year. We have Mutai Kahiga from Nyeri. We have Wilbur Otichilo again in the top 25. We have Governor Wangamati Ndiritu Muriithi, that is at number 24, and Governor Olelenku at number 25. So this is now a summary of the performance of all the 47 governors. If you go to this is the second page. We have Governor Kuti from number 26, all the way again to Nairobi, where we have the acting governor, Anne Kananu, standing at 19.4%. So this, I believe, makes it, summarizes the entire conversation that we have had from the beginning in terms of the ranking of the governors from the best performing to the least performing in terms of development countrywide. So that is the summary. Now, we move to the next analysis of approval rating. And this is also where we found it to be a bit interesting, because as I indicated to you, there are governors who have a very high approval rating, but their development scorecard is very low. And so on the component of approval, you notice that Professor Kibwana has lost his place as number 1. He is now number 3 in approval rating countrywide. But Governor Oparanya, who was second performing, best performing governor countrywide, now is, he was number 3. It's like they have almost swapped places. In fact, it's like they have swapped places. So Governor Oparanya is leading in approval. That means in the event Governor Oparanya was to seek re-election in Kakamega County, he would score the highest, followed by Governor Salim Vuria. Then we have Governor Professor Kivutha Kibwana at number 3. Notably, you notice that Governor Josephat Nanok, who was not even in the top 10 on the list of development, is number 4 in terms of approval rating. We have number 5, Governor Mwangi Wairia from Murang'a County. You find that his approval rating is top 5, considering that he's second best performing governor on development. Then we have we have a first-term governor there in terms of approval rating at number 6, and that is Professor Anyang' Nyong'o from Kisumu. Then we have Governor Mandago is a second-term governor at number 7. We have Dr. Alfred Mutua in terms of approval rating at number 8. Then we have Muthomi Njuki, who is a first-term governor, at number 9 in terms of approval rating. And then lastly, we have also Governor Otichilo from Vihiga at number 10. So this is just a summary of the top 10 best performing, or according to the opinions of the people from their respective counties. These are the top 10 best rated governors in terms of popularity in their regions. So that is just a pictorial of the same. So this is now the complete summary of the scorecard of all the 47 governors, from the highest ranking in terms of approval, starting from Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, all the way to number 47. That is, again, we have the Nairobi acting governor, Anne Kananu, at 13.2%. So as you can see, you will notice that, for example, Governor Charity Ngilu was very high on development, but now she's number 27 in terms of approval rating. So that means probably she has invested more on our development agenda in Kitui and less of the politics. So you are going to notice again on Governor Kiraitu Murungi on this particular list. In terms of approval rating, he stands at number 34 nationally, but in development rating, he is in the top 10. So that is an indicator that the governor has focused more on his development agenda at the expense of his politics, which if, as you have seen, other governors have been able to balance off. So those are some of the subject areas I believe the governors would be able to internally evaluate and look at the areas they need to improve. But to a majority of the respondents, as I said, there are those who are satisfied with a non-performing governor, development-wise, as long as they are happy they have that governor. And there are those who are more impressed by development rather than the politicking. So those are some of the dynamics. So when it comes to second-term governors, we again now extracted the data for first-term governors and second-term governors so that we can be able to place the accurate weight in terms of, because you see, it would not be fair to compare a first-term governor entirely with a second-term governor, especially on issues of development. As I indicated from the outset, we have a majority of these governors, like the second-term governors, they have had their 9 years in office. So that cannot entirely be compared with those who are serving their first term. So we thought that this distinction now enables even those who are participating in national political conversations, because you have had conversations about those who are looking to either, there are a number of these governors who are planning to run for president, for example. There are a number of these governors who are positioning themselves either to be deputy presidents or any other positions they wish to serve in. So we felt that this kind of analysis now distinguishes, especially the second-term governors, with a fair scorecard in terms of their development. So we only did that analysis for the top 10 best-ranking second-term governors. Second-term governors on issues of development. So it starts with Professor Kibwana at 80%, then Governor Mwangi wa Iria, number 2, Wycliffe Oparanya, all the way. But now you note that Governor Ali Roba, when it is an assessment on second-term governors, he makes a new entrance in the overall national scorecard of all the governors. You notice also that, for example, the Trans Nzoia governor, who was not in the top 10 overall governors, is in the top 10 list of best performing governors in terms of development. Same case with Governor Obado, and same case with Josephat Nanok, who was not in the top 10. But now on development at the national level, as second-term governors, they are in the top 10. So that's the summary. Then we can look at the approvals again. This is still on the second-term governors. So Governor Oparanya, as we saw, is leading, followed by Salim Vuria. Then you notice in this top 10 approval ratings for second-term governors, Governor Jackson Mandago now makes it into the list at 64.9%. We also have Professor Paul Chepkwony at 60%. We also have Alex Tolgos at 57.3%. And we also have Governor James Ongwae at number 10 with 56.7 percentage points. So this distinction, we hope, and especially at the media level, you can be able to present it to the public, to be able to make an independent assessment in terms of the overall performance as they are considered or they are viewed by their electorate in the last, because by next year it will be 10 years in office, vis-a-vis those who are first term. Then now we think we can move to the component of the first term governors. So again, you realize now, we thought it would also be important to have this distinct scorecard for first term governors, because when they are lumped together with their second term governors, most of them, their scores may appear to be very low. But we felt that is, that is almost an independent cluster, because you cannot compare somebody who has been in office like Governor Nyoro, who is 1.5 years in office, or maybe Governor Nyaribo, who has barely been in office for a year, with somebody like Governor Oparanya or Governor Wairia, who has been there for the 2 terms. So notably now, in terms of development, Governor Sang now is number 1 countrywide as a first-term governor. Then he's closely followed by Governor Kiraitu Murungi from Meru County at number 2 as the second best performing governor in terms of development countrywide at an impressive score of 65.4%. Then there, number 3, we have Governor Charity Ngilu at 64%. And then we have Governor James Nyoro from Kiambu County at number 4 with 63.6%. And notably, you realize in this entire list, Governor Nyoro and Governor Nyaribo are the ones who have served the least time in office, yet they have actually made it to the top 10. So perhaps that would be a subject of investigation or a subject of discussion to establish what are the dynamics, because both of them served as deputy governors. In the first case, until Governor Waititu was removed from office through impeachment. In the second case, until Governor Nyagarama passed on in office. So the question we need to ask is, what is unique about, for example, Governor Nyoro? Because you realize he ran for office in 2013, and he was not elected. Then in 2017, he ran as a running mate, and he was elected. But now, as a distinct governor, as a substantive governor, his scorecard has really gone up. So those are some of the issues that we hope we can be able to have conversations on, in terms of what is it different, or what is it unique that these two governors have been able to do. Because even for Nyaribo to come in at 48%, that is very impressive. So is there something that we do not know about deputy governors that we may need to know? Is there something that we may want to investigate in terms of acting or deputy governors who eventually assume office? But notably, again, you find we have another deputy governor who assumed office, like Hilary Balchok from Bomet, who is not on that particular list. So the dynamics are different. I believe it is entirely about, as I say, the investment each governor wishes to make, either on their political side or on their development agenda. Then now we also have top 10 first-time governors in terms of approval. And on this one, you realize that Professor Anyang' Nyong'o distinctively stands as the most popular governor according to the people of Kisumu. He is closely followed by Governor Muthomi Njuki from Tharaka Nithi. And you can see at 62%. Then now we have, in terms of approval, we have Governor Otichilo at number 3. Then Governor Barchok, who is not in the top 10 of development from Bomet, now comes in at number 4 in terms of approval. So what that may translate to is that the people of Bomet so far could be sufficiently satisfied with the performance of the governor or his politics, and they are okay. They would not have a problem re-electing him with a significant majority of about 58.2%. Then we have Governor Wangamati from Bungoma. We have Governor Lonyangapuo. Then we also have Governor Waiguru in terms of approval rating now from at 56%. And you note that Governor Stephen Sang is number 8 in terms of approval in the ranking of first-term governors. But he's the top performing governor in terms of development. That again tells you perhaps Governor Stephen Sang has chosen to invest more in development rather than the politicking. Then we also have again Mutahi Kahiga making it into the list of again top 10 most popular governors in their regions at number 9. And then we have Governor Ndiritu Muriithi standing at number 10 with 55.8%. So that summary brings us essentially to a close of the kind of survey that we conducted, because we felt it was very important to be able to break that down. And one of the issues that has continued to emerge is the conversation as to whether should governors really be given ample time to complete or conclude their development agenda, or should we be giving them maybe only one term, depending on how they perform? So we wanted to share with you also the core issues that we captured in our questionnaire, and which the questionnaires that generated the kind of responses you've seen. And apart from the basic questions from the county, constituency, ward, gender, age group, religion, and whether they are registered voters, our two primary questions were, one, in a scale of 10, they were asked to rate their governor in terms of development, and now you have seen that entire scorecard. And the second question was on the issue, if elections were to be held today, that gave us the scorecard for approval rating. So finally, there are many conclusions that we have drawn from this entire research. But the three things that came out very distinctly is the fact that there is no correlation specifically between a governor's development score and their approval or popularity rating. As you have seen throughout the entire report, there are many governors who are very highly popular within their areas, but their development agenda or their development scorecard is very low, and vice versa. But also we have seen there are those who have fairly been able to balance it out to the extent that it is almost an average, like we saw with the case of Professor Kibwana or many other governors, including Governor Mwangi wa Iria. Then secondly, you find that evidently, and as we saw in the synopsis that I provided from the outset, second-term governors have a higher overall development score than first-term governors. And this can generally be attributed to the fact that they have had ample time to implement their projects. For example, the scenario that I have highlighted of, say, Murang'a County, which is not very far from Nairobi here, you find that the impact of the investment by the county government in the avocado production has finally paid off this year, with a return in excess of 9 billion shillings going to the residents of Murang'a. Perhaps if Governor Wairia was removed in 2017, then that score would definitely not be as it is today, isn't it? So those are some of the interesting aspects that we brought out. And lastly, you find that there was also a very impressive performance by first-term governors, where we have 5 first-term governors making it into the top 10 of the best performing governors in the areas of development. So the question that arises is, what really would be the parameters the residents of these respective counties would be looking at to determine if they would want to re-elect their governors or not?